Hello friends, I am Sanyukta Saxena back again. I am a certified Zentangle teacher, and the last session we learned how to draw the pattern paradox, and we also drew a tile using the pattern paradox, right? So paradox, as I told you earlier, is a very versatile pattern, and basically you can draw it inside almost any shape. Just that if the lines are at right angles to each other or it's in an acute angle, then the shape of the fan that you form inside the paradox is more prominent, right? So I'll just explain to you what I'm trying to say, that when you draw a paradox inside a square, since the lines are at right angles to each other, right? So the shape of the fan that you form by drawing the pattern paradox is much more prominent when the lines are at an angle to each other, right? So although you can draw paradox inside any shape, I showed you how in a Wells grid where two of the sides are curved lines, I drew the pattern paradox and it had a different look, right? So you can draw it inside any kind of a grid. However, when the lines inside which you are drawing the pattern paradox are at right angles or a good angle like acute angle, then the look of the pattern is better. For example, you can draw paradox here also, just that it will look different, right? So this fan shape that you get inside a triangle or a square, the shape of the fan will vary, right? Again, you complete the half circle, you complete the fan shape. So you can draw it inside anything, just that triangles and squares, the fan looks much better. It is widely spread out because the outer lines are at good angles to each other, right? So you can draw it inside anything. So there are a lot of ways in which you can draw paradox all over the internet, on various Zentangle sites. You can see different shapes inside which paradox has been drawn, but I'm trying to show you different arrangements for paradox. So in front of me is a regular square tile, right? I have drawn here a simple grid. I hope you can see the grid. So there are two squares and there are two borders to the square and then these two spaces, right? So I'm going to use this grid today and I'm using my burgundy pen. Okay, so just to add a little color to my tile today, right? So I'm using a burgundy pen for my paradox only and nothing else. Rest of the tile I'm going to draw with a black pen only, right? So I'm going to start drawing paradox here. So starting from one side, rotating my tile, tracing a part of the line initially and then deviating, right? So I'm constantly rotating my tile so that my hand doesn't have to move much. Paradox involves pure line work. So simple paradox inside a square, just adding a tint of color to my tile. Right, and I'll do the same exercise in this section also. Going to complete my paradox in the same fashion. So try different arrangements, or what we call compositions. As I posted some of my tiles on my Facebook page, Sanyukta Zentangle, you can see how paradox has been arranged in different ways, right? So apart from drawing it inside different grids to form different meta patterns, the other option is to arrange it in different ways along with other tangles, and you can create beautiful tiles. I personally like creating different compositions, or attractive compositions where you have placed your tangles in a fashion that they add to the look of the tile. I think those who are following my video for quite some time now would realize that, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some weight at the end of the line, like this, right? So what I'm doing is adding some weight towards the end of the line, right? So with a gentle hand, just adding some weight to the lines towards the end, right? Like this. Rick had done this in one of the project packs, and the paradox really looked amazing with slight weight added to the lines at the end, right? You can see how the look of the pattern changes with a slight weight at the end of the lines, right? And the last one here. So PN has a broader nib. If you want to use some other pen, please go ahead. I just use this pen because I like the color very much, right? So this is how the paradox looks. I'll do the same exercise in this one also, right? So I have done the same exercise in both. So I'm now going to pick up my black O1 and give a border to my paradox. So it's up to you, what do you want to fill inside. I'm going to keep it simple, add some hybrid probably and a small fragment. Right. So I'm going to use the pattern hybrid. We have already learned this pattern. So inside this V shape, inverted V shape, I'm going to draw lines like this from both sides, right? Like this. Right, and then this one. So lines coming from both sides but not cutting each other, so creating a bedweed like effect, just that the lines are straight instead of curved lines. And the other portion we can add a simple fragment like this and ink this portion. Right, again the same exercise. Right, so I will draw the same border on the other side also. Just filling up the small spaces left. Right, we'll do the same exercise in this one also. So I have completed doing the same exercise on both sides. Right, so I am going to aura this section that is left now. Again, it's always better to separate the section. We don't know what tangle we'll be drawing inside, so it's always a good idea to aura. Right, so I think I am going to start with moon pie on both the sides. A very simple pattern to draw. This looks like an improvised version of crescent moon. Right, then some knight's bridge inside. Right, then another aura, and then some orbs. You can extend this pattern to as many rows as you want. You can keep adding, expanding. It looks very nice. Right, but I'm going to keep it till here. Right, so I'll draw the same thing on this side also. Right, one aura, two aura, then at a distance the third aura, then adding the pattern knight's bridge. I think by now I have used this pattern quite a couple of times, so you know by now how to draw the pattern. Right, another aura, then some orbs. Right, and then aura the orbs. Right, and then the rest of the pattern I'll go with extend the knight's bridge. Right, like this. I'm going to extend the pattern knight's bridge to the rest of the tile. Right, I'm going to draw lines like these. You can draw any other pattern. By now we know so many of them. If you have been following my videos, I generally use the patterns that I've already taught. Very rarely do I use patterns that I haven't taught earlier in my videos, in my tiles. Right, so this is the knight's bridge grid. Right, now I'll pick up my 08 and start inking. Right, So with my 08, I'll start inking the alternate spaces as is done in the pattern Knightsbridge. Right? So this is going to take a little time, so I'll get back to you. So I'm almost finishing inking my Knightsbridge. I think the last one left. Right, like a checkerboard. So we have inked the Knightsbridge. The next step is to shade our tile. I think we are finished tangling. So I'm now going to pick up a brown chalk pencil, right? And I'm going to use it to add some chalk at the place from where lines are emanating, and just a touch at the end, right? Right, do the same here. Right, so use a different blending stump, don't use the normal one. So this is going to smudge the chalk. Right, so just going to blur the chalk. Same here, blur the chalk, spread it a little. Right, and then the normal, my graphite pencil, some graphite on the borders. You can even shade individual tangle, or you can just add graphite at the edges. It is okay both ways. You may choose to shade the fragments and the hybrid independently. I don't think I will be able to do justice with it in such small space, so some on the outer side of the moon pie. A touch at the orbs, and then in the squares, right? Just make sure your ink has dried up, otherwise you may damage the tile. While smudging, right? So I'm now going to pick up my normal, just spread the graphite that I've put on both the sides. Don't spread it too much, you don't want the entire border to go grey, right? So make sure there is a white portion in between. Small circular movements, just blending the graphite that we have added. Right, and then some blending here. Right, and then some here. Don't cover the entire thing. No need to touch the black portions. The same exercise on the other side. Right, then I'll pick up my white charcoal and then highlight the center. Or the other side where I have not put any graphite, right? Right, so just a touch on the other side to give that high and low feel. And if you wish, you can also add a line in between here to highlight the border. Right, so that's our tile with paradox and few simple tangles to go along, right? So I'm now going to initial my tile and sign and date it. Today is so we'll meet again with another part of paradox in which I'll be drawing a Zentangle with you with the pattern paradox and few more tangles. right? So till then, stay safe, take care, bye bye.